We are living in a very exciting and powerful time. On the deepest level of consciousness, a radical transformation is taking place. As the evolution of human consciousness gains greater and greater momentum, we are being challenged, on a planetary level, to let go of our present way of life and create a new one. In a sense, our old world is dying, and a new world is coming into being. For many of us, the old world was based on an external focus. Having lost our fundamental spiritual connection, we have believed that the material world is the only reality. Thus, feeling essentially lost, empty, and alone, we have continually attempted to find happiness and fulfillment through external things, money, material possessions, relationships, work, fame, food, drugs, and so on. The new world is being built as we open to the higher power of the universe within us and consciously allow the creative energy Y to move through us. As each of us connects with our inner spiritual awareness, we learn that the creative power of the universe is inside of us. We also learn that we can create our own experience of reality and take responsibility for doing so. The change begins within each individual, but as more and more individuals are transformed, the mass consciousness is increasingly affected. My observation that a profound transformation of consciousness is taking place in our world at this time is based on the changes I see within myself, those around me, and in our society. It is affirmed by feedback I receive from thousands of people I work with all over the world. Living in the light is about this transformation of consciousness within each individual and in the world. My use of the terms old world and new world throughout the book refer to the old way of living that we are relinquishing, and the new one that we are creating. For many people, this time may be distressing, because the world situation and/or our personal lives may seem to be going from bad to worse. It's as if many things are falling apart and will continue to do so with even greater intensity, but on the deepest level, I do not feel this is negative. It is upsetting to us to the degree that we are emotionally attached to our old way of living and steadfastly follow old patterns, rather than trying to open our eyes to the profound changes that are occurring. Paradoxical as it may seem, these changes are the greatest blessing that any of us could possibly imagine. The truth is that the way of life that we have been following for centuries no longer works. While appropriate for its time, it cannot take us where we need and desire to go. The focus on materialism and the external world was necessary in a time when our primary challenge was physical survival. Our patriarchal values and the traditional roles of men and women may have been necessary in order to ensure the protection of our families for a certain period of time in our evolutionary process. At this time, many human beings, and other species as well, on the earth are still struggling for physical survival. Yet there are an increasing number of us who no longer have to be preoccupied primarily with sheer survival. We have the opportunity, and thus the responsibility, to begin looking for deeper fulfillment on spiritual, mental, and emotional levels. We are searching for greater meaning and purpose in our lives, and for ways to live more responsibly and harmoniously on our planet. While some people throughout history have led relatively meaningful and satisfying lives, I'm afraid that most of us have never found the fulfillment that we have yearned for. Our cultural conditioning has not given us the tools to develop a healthy connection with our inner realms of soul, intuition, and feeling, and to integrate them with our external world. In a way, it's as if we've been in school for our entire lives, receiving an education that teaches the exact opposite of the way the universe actually functions. We try to make things work as we've been taught, and we may even enjoy some degree of success, but for most of us things never seem to work out as well as we had hoped. That perfect relationship never materializes, or if it does, it soon sours or fades away. Or it may seem as though there is never quite enough money, we never feel truly secure or abundant. Perhaps we don't get the appreciation, recognition, or success that we want. Even if we do achieve some of these things, we still may suffer from a vague sense that there must be something more, some deeper meaning. Some of us may actually connect with that deeper meaning and feel increasingly fulfilled and expanded by a growing spiritual awareness. Nevertheless, there are stubborn and sometimes puzzling old patterns and areas of life where we experience great pain and confusion. Thus, our first task in building the new world is to admit that our life education has not necessarily taught us a satisfying way to live. We must learn a way of life that is very different from the way we approached things before. This may not be easy for us, and it will take time, commitment, and courage. Therefore, it's very important to be compassionate with ourselves, to continually remind ourselves what a tremendous task we are undertaking. It will not be accomplished overnight. In fact, it is a lifelong process. Just as a baby learns to walk by falling down repeatedly, we must remember that we are babies in the new world. We will learn by making lots of mistakes, and often we may feel ignorant, frightened, or unsure of ourselves. But we would not get angry at a baby every time he fell down. If we did, he'd probably never learn to walk with full confidence and power, so we must try not to criticize ourselves if we are not able to live and express ourselves as fully as we wish immediately. We are now learning to live more fully in accordance with the laws of the universe. We are challenged to explore all aspects of our human experience and to develop all levels of our being, the spiritual, mental, and emotional as well as the physical. As we do this work, we experience an increasing sense of wholeness, empowerment, aliveness, and a feeling of being, on purpose, in our lives. So, although letting go of the old world may seem difficult at times, it is well worth the commitment and hard work it takes to gradually make this transition into the new world. Meditation. Sit or lie down, relax, close your eyes, and take a few deep breaths. As you exhale, imagine that you are letting go of everything that you don't want or need. Easily, without effort, let any frustrations, tiredness, or worries melt away. This is a time to release an old way of life that no longer works for you. Imagine that your old ways, your old patterns, and all the obstacles to achieving what you truly want are gently dissolved and leaving your body with each breath. Every time you exhale, and release a little of your old limitations, you create more space inside of you for something new. After doing this for a few minutes, begin to imagine that every time you inhale, you are breathing in life energy, the life force of the universe. Within this life energy is everything you need and desire. Love, power, health, beauty, strength, abundance. Breathe it in with each inhalation. Imagine a new way of life opening up, filling you with aliveness, vitality, and energy. Pretend your life is exactly the way you want it to be. Imagine this new life is here, now, and savor it. When the meditation feels complete, gently open your eyes and come back into the room. See if you can retain that sense of newness in yourself. Remember that you are now in the process of creating a new life for yourself. Chapter 2. Te Higher Po We're within us. The foundation for life in the new world is built on the understanding that there is a higher intelligence, a fundamental creative power or energy in the universe that is the source and substance of all existence. The words and concepts that have been used to describe this power are innumerable. Here are just a few. God, Spirit, Inner Guidance. Goddess, Essence, Higher Self. Higher Power, Being, the Universe. Source, Soul, Life Force. The Tao, the Force, Cosmic Intelligence. Buddha, Nature, the Light, Christ, Consciousness. Great Spirit. I Am, All That Is. These terms are attempts to express an experience or knowingness that is difficult to convey in words and rational concepts. Each of us has this experience within us. The words we choose to describe it are merely the labels that suit us best. I seldom use the word God, as it has so many confusing connotations for so many. Frequently, people associate it with early religious training, which is no longer meaningful to them. Some may think of God as someone or something outside of themselves, the old man in the sky with the long white beard. I prefer terms such as higher power, the universe, spirit, or inner guidance. In this book, I will use some of these terms interchangeably to refer to our spiritual source, the essential creative intelligence and power within us. If any of these terms are not particularly meaningful to you, please feel free to substitute whatever word you prefer. For the first 20 years of my life, my connection to the spiritual aspect of my being was largely undeveloped. I had no conscious experience of, or belief in, a higher power of any sort. I have had to move through many levels of doubt, skepticism, disbelief, and fear in order to arrive at the great trust I now have in the higher power of the universe that is within me and within everyone and everything that exists. I have not accepted anything on blind faith, so in a sense I have had to prove everything to myself through my life experiences. As I've learned to place my trust in the higher power of the universe and to live in accordance with universal principles, the changes I have felt and seen in my life are truly miraculous. Those of you who have felt deep spiritual awareness throughout your lives already have a solid foundation to build upon. For those of you who have felt spiritually disconnected, as I have, I hope my words will support and encourage you to find this inner connection for yourself. There is no specific way to do this, everyone's experience is different. If this is something that you desire, ask within yourself that you be guided into an experience of your own spiritual nature. This may take some time, but if you desire it, it will happen. The words and exercises in this book may help you with this. The universe has both personal and impersonal aspects. As I surrender and trust more, I find my relationship with this higher power becoming more personal. I can sometimes sense a presence within me, guiding me, loving me, teaching me, encouraging me. In this personal aspect, the universe can be teacher, guide, friend, mother, father, lover, creative genius, or fairy godmother. In other words, many of my needs and desires can be fulfilled through this inner connection. I often find the most powerful communion with the universe when I am alone, especially out in nature. At such times, the places inside of me that sometimes feel empty are filled with the energy of spirit. Here I find a guiding presence that nudges me in the direction I need to go, and helps me to learn the lesson that lies in taking each step along my path. Meditation. Sit or lie down in a comfortable position. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Each time you exhale, relax your body more and more. Then take a few more deep breaths and, each time you exhale, relax your mind. Let your thoughts drift by without holding on to any of them. Allow your mind to go out of focus. Relax your awareness into a deep place within you. Imagine that there is a very powerful presence within you. This presence is totally loving, strong, and wise. It is nurturing, protecting, guiding, and caring for you. At times it can be very strong and forceful. It can also be very light, joyful, and playful. As you get to know and trust it, it will make your life exciting, meaningful, and fulfilling. You may get an image or a feeling or a physical sensation that represents this higher presence. Even if you don't see or feel a thing, assume it is there regardless. Relax and enjoy the feeling or thought that you are being totally taken care of by the universe. Say this affirmation to yourself silently or aloud: I feel and trust the presence of the universe in my life. Chapter 3: Intuition. Once we acknowledge the higher power of the universe, the obvious question arises: how can we contact this power and gain access to it? After all, if there is within us a superior wisdom or a deeper knowledge than we normally experience, by tapping into it, we should be able to receive valuable guidance in how to live well in this confusing world. This realization began to dawn on me many years ago as I undertook my journey of consciousness. I have since discovered that the knowingness that resides in each of us can be accessed through what we usually call our intuition. By learning to contact, listen to, and act on our intuition, we can directly connect to this inner wisdom and allow it to become our guiding force. This is where we find ourselves in opposition to life, as most of us have been taught to live it in the old world. In modern Western civilization, we have learned to respect and even worship the rational, logical aspect of our being, and to dismiss, depreciate, or deny our intuition. We do acknowledge the ability of animals to seemingly understand things that are way beyond their rational capacity. We call this instinct. But it's a mystery that defies logical explanation, so we shrug our shoulders and dismiss it as something vastly inferior to the magnificent human ability to reason. Our culture's entire value system is firmly based on the belief that the rational principle is superior and, in fact, constitutes the highest truth. The Western scientific tradition has become our religion. We are taught from a young age to try to be reasonable, logical, and consistent, to avoid emotional, irrational behavior, and to suppress our feelings. At best, feelings and emotions are considered foolish, weak, and bothersome. At worst, we fear they may threaten the very fabric of civilized society. Our established religious institutions often support this fear of the intuitive, non-rational self. Once based on a deep awareness of the universal spiritual principle in every being, many religions only pay lip service to that idea now. Instead, they seek to control the behavior of the devotees, using elaborate rule structures purported to save people from the deep, irrational, and basically, sinful, natures. And according to many psychological disciplines, the dark and dangerous instinctual nature of man must be controlled. From this perspective, it is only the rational part of us that is capable of harnessing this mysterious force and channeling it into healthy, constructive modes. In our worship of the rational and fear of the non-rational, we deny not only our emotions and our instinctual energies such as sexuality and aggression, but also our natural intuitive sense, which is meant to be a primary guiding force in our lives. Generally, less technically developed societies approach life with a deep awareness of, and respect for, the intuitive element of existence. Every moment of the daily lives is guided by a strong sense of connection with the creative force. However, it is their very lack of technical development that has contributed to the gradual destruction or subversion by modern civilization. Two examples relevant to most Americans are the Native American and African cultures. Both of these groups were devastated by the contact with European, American culture. However, a deep curiosity, respect, and appreciation for Native Americans has begun to surface in our awareness in recent years. And the African culture, forcibly brought to this continent, has probably done more than any other culture to keep the intuitive power alive in our country through its strong and soulful connection to spirit. In human evolution, it seems that as our rational capacity has evolved, we've grown increasingly fearful of the other aspects of our natures. We've attempted to control these dark forces by presenting authoritative rule structures that define right and wrong, good and bad, and appropriate and inappropriate behavior in a very heavy-handed way. We justify this rigid approach to life by blaming everything on non-rational nature, from our personal emotional dramas to social ills such as drug and alcohol addiction, crime, violence, and war. The truth is that all aspects of our being are integral, important, and valuable parts of us. The more we distrust and suppress these energies, the more likely they are to eventually burst out in distorted ways. In other words, our problems are not necessarily caused by our emotional, non-rational nature running wild and uncontrolled. Instead, both personal and social problems are more likely to be the result of fear and the suppression of our emotions, instinctual nature, and intuition. In this book, we are focusing on how we can reclaim the power of our intuitive sense. Once we accept the reality of a higher power that is channeled to us through our intuition, it becomes clear that many of our personal problems and the ills of the world are actually caused by not following our intuition. Our rational mind is like a computer, it processes the input it receives and calculates logical conclusions based on this information. The rational mind is finite, it can only compute the input it has received directly. In other words, our rational minds can only operate on the basis of the direct experience each of us has had in this lifetime. The intuitive mind, on the other hand, seems to have access to an infinite supply of information. It appears to be able to tap into a deep storehouse of knowledge and wisdom, the universal mind. It is also able to sort out this information and supply us with exactly what we need, when we need it. Though the message may come through a bit at a time, if we learn to follow this supply of information piece by piece, the necessary course of action will be revealed. As we learn to rely on this guidance, life takes on a flowing, effortless quality. Our life, feelings, and actions interweave harmoniously with those of others around us. It is as if each of us played a unique instrument in a huge symphony orchestra, conducted by a universal intelligence. If we play our part without regard for the conductor's direction or the rest of the orchestra, we will have total chaos. If we try to take our cues from those around us, rather than the conductor, it will be impossible to achieve harmony. There are too many people, all playing different things. Our intellect is not able to process so much input and decide on the best note to play at each moment. However, if we watch the conductor and follow his direction, we can experience the joy of playing our unique part, which can be heard and appreciated by everyone, and at the same time experience ourselves as part of a greater harmonious whole. When we apply this analogy to our lives, we see that most of us have never realized the conductor was present. We have lived the best we can, using only our intellect to understand our lives, to figure out the best course of action. If we are honest with ourselves, we will readily admit that we are not making great music under the guidance of our rational mind alone. The dissonance and chaos in our lives and in the world certainly reflects the impossibility of living this way. By tuning into the intuition and allowing it to become the guiding force in our lives, we allow our inner conductor to take its rightful place as the leader of the orchestra. Rather than losing our individual freedom, we receive the support we need to effectively express our individuality. Moreover, we will enjoy the experience of being part of a larger creative process. I don't fully understand how the intuition functions in such an amazing way, but I definitely know, through direct experience and through observation and feedback from the many people I have worked with, that it does. And I find that the more I trust and follow this inner intuitive voice, the easier, fuller, and more exciting my life becomes. Meditation. Sit or lie down in a comfortable position in a quiet place. Close your eyes and relax. Take several slow, deep breaths, relaxing your body more with each breath. Relax your mind and let your thoughts drift, but don't hold on to any thought. Imagine that your mind becomes as quiet as a peaceful lake. Now focus your conscious awareness into a deep place in your body, in the area of your stomach or solar plexus. It should be the place in your body where you feel that your gut feelings reside. This is the physical place where you can easily contact your intuition. Imagine that you have a wise being living inside there. You might have an image of what this wise being looks like, or you might just sense that it is there. This wise being is really a part of you, your intuitive self. You can communicate with it by silently talking to it, making requests, or asking questions. Then relax, don't think too hard with your rational mind, and be open to receiving the answers. The answers are usually very simple, they relate to the present moment, not the past or future, and they feel right. If you don't receive an immediate answer, let go and go about your life. The answer will come later, whether from inside of you in the form of a feeling or idea, or from outside through a person, a book, an event, or whatever. For example, you might say, "Intuition, tell me what I need to know here. What do I need to do in this situation?" Trust the feeling that you get and act on it. If it is truly your intuition, you will find that it leads to a feeling of greater aliveness and power, and more opportunities begin to open up for you. If it doesn't lead to these things, you may not have been truly acting from your intuition but from some other voice in you. Go back and ask for clarification. It takes practice to hear and trust your intuition. The more you do it, the easier it will become. Eventually you will be able to contact your intuition, ask yourself questions, and know that in that wise being within you, an incredible source of power and strength is available to answer your questions and guide you. As you grow more sensitive to this guidance, you will gain a sense of knowing what you need to do in any situation. Your intuitive power is always available to guide you whenever you need it. It will open to you as you become willing to trust yourself and your inner knowledge. Chapter 4. Becoming a CRETVE channel. To whatever degree you listen to and follow your intuition, you become a creative channel for the higher power of the universe. When you willingly follow where your creative energy leads, the higher power can come through you to manifest its creative work. When this happens, you will find yourself flowing with the energy why, doing what you really want to do, and feeling the power of the universe moving through you to create or transform everything around you. In using the word channel, I am not referring to the psychic process of trance channeling. Trance channeling involves a medium who goes into a trance state and allows another being to speak through him or her. By channeling, I mean being in touch with and bringing through the wisdom and creativity of your own deepest source. Being a channel is being fully and freely yourself and consciously knowing that you are a vehicle for the creativity of the universe. Every creative genius has been a channel. Every masterwork has been created through the channeling process. Great works are not created by the personality alone. They arise from a deep inspiration on the universal level, and are then expressed and brought into form through the individual personality. A person may have great technical skill, but without the ability to connect with a deeper source, his work will be uninspiring. The difference between a technician and a channel was clearly demonstrated in the movie Amadeus. The composer Salieri knew how to write music, but he didn't know how to tap into the creative source. Mozart wrote music that was both technically perfect and wonderfully inspired, and he did so easily, spontaneously, without thought or effort. From his early childhood on, music just seemed to bubble up and overflow from within him. I'm sure he had no idea how it happened and could not have explained to anyone else how to do it. Such genius has always seemed mysterious and unexplainable, a God-given talent possessed by only a few. It seems to come and go at will, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. Because of this, many creative people fear the talent will suddenly disappear. They don't know how they got it, so they have no idea how to recover it if it vanishes. Creative people often function as channels in only one area of their lives, such as one of the arts, science, or business, and may have no idea how to do it in other areas of their lives. Thus, their lives can be terribly out of balance. See the section on highly intuitive people in the chapter on trusting intuition. This is one reason why we often equate genius with emotional instability. I believe we are all geniuses, each in our own unique way. We will discover the nature of our particular genius when we stop trying to conform to our own or other people's models, learn to be ourselves, and allow our natural channel to open. Through trusting and acting on our intuition, it's possible to bring our natural creative inspiration into every moment, in every area of our lives. When I speak of a channel, I have an image of a long round pipe with energy flowing through it. It's somewhat like the pipe in a pipe organ, with the music coming through. This channel image has three important features. 1. It is open and unobstructed inside so that the energy can move through freely. 2. It has a definite physical form, a structure surrounds the open space so that the energy is directed in a particular way. Without this structure, the energy would be free-floating, without any focus. 3. It has a power source, something that moves energy through the channel. In a pipe organ, the power source, the organ, sends energy through the open pipes. The particular combination of open space inside each pipe and the structure, the size and shape of the pipe, causes a certain note to be sounded. The power source is the same for all the pipes and the energy moving through them is the same, but because each one is a different shape, each one makes a unique sound. We can think of ourselves as channels similar to these pipes. We have a common power source, the universal life force, and the same creative energy flows through each of us. Our body and personality form the structure that determines the unique direction and function of each of us as a channel. It is up to us to keep our channel open and clear and to build and maintain a strong, healthy, beautiful body, personality structure as a vehicle for our creative energy. We can do this by constantly tuning in, asking where the energy wants to go, and moving with it. A strong body, personality structure is not created by following anybody else's rules or good ideas about what you should eat, how you should exercise, or anything else. It is created primarily by trusting your intuition and learning to follow its direction. When deciding what to eat, how to exercise, or anything else, gather information from reliable sources, then check in with yourself to see what feels intuitively right for you, and do your best to follow your own inner guidance. Most of us have had occasional experiences of trusting our intuition and having things work out in amazing ways. The following true story is a good example of this. A few years ago, my editor, Becky, had achieved what many people think of as the American dream. She had a husband and daughter, a good job, money in the bank, and owned her own home. Yet she felt an emptiness inside. She felt an inner prompting to leave her job and pursue a career in publishing. Her husband did not support this idea. In fact, he pointed out that she didn't have the formal education necessary to obtain a position in a publishing house. Becky and her husband eventually separated, and she decided to make a move. She had been reading many books, including Living in the Light, and knew that she wanted to work for a publisher in the field of personal growth. Her intuitive feeling was that she needed to move to Northern California. It was the most difficult and courageous step she had ever taken. She found herself in a new community with no friends, no job, and no money. She had no luck, at first, obtaining a publishing job, and so she looked for any kind of work that would enable her to survive. Many times she questioned her choice to take such a risk, yet she kept feeling a deep sense that she was on the right track. Finally, she found work in another field. She was able to get back on her feet financially and she regained her confidence. She continued her search for a publishing job, and this time she was successful. She happily took a cut in pay and position to take an entry-level job at New World Library, the company she had always hoped to work for. Finally, she felt she was at home. As of this writing, Becky has been with New World Library for 6 years. She has her dream job as the editorial director. By following her inner guidance, even through very difficult times, she found the perfect place to express her creativity and make her contribution to the world. You may have had a similar experience where listening to your intuition about something proved so fruitful and fulfilling. If so, the next step is to become more conscious of the process so you can recognize when you are following the flow of energy, as opposed to blocking, fighting, or trying to control it. The more willing you are to surrender to the energy within you, the more power can flow through you. I know most of us have had experiences at certain times when we've felt life energy, wisdom, and power flow through us, when we have felt momentarily enlightened. We have a brief moment of clarity and power and then it goes away again. When it goes away, we feel lost and unsure of ourselves. The more you practice trusting and following your intuition, the more consistently you will feel that sense of flow. At these times you may find yourself right where you want to be at every moment. You'll be where the energy is the greatest for you, doing what you want to do, and watching miracles being accomplished. Your energy may have a transformational effect on others, as well. As you strengthen the commitment to trusting yourself, everything in your life may change. At first, as you begin to let go of your old patterns, it may appear that things in your life are falling apart. You may find that you have to let go of certain things you've been attached to. Some relationships in your life may dissolve or simply fizzle out from lack of energy. Old pastimes may no longer interest you. You may even lose your job or decide to leave it. Of course, these changes can be upsetting and frightening. Over time, however, you will find that this is all part of the transformation you are going through. As you learn to be true to yourself, you will find that you attract people, work, and other circumstances that reflect your evolution and development. Maintaining your focus. In order to live fully and creatively, it's important to stay focused on following your own energy. This focus allows your channel to remain open to the energy flowing through. It's so easy to lose your focus, to get lost in other people, external goals, and desires. And the problem is we do exactly that, we lose our connection with ourselves. As long as we are overly focused on the outside, there will always be an empty, hungry, lost place inside that needs to be filled. If I'm in love with someone and begin to think of him as my source of joy, then I lose myself. I have to remind myself that the source of joy and love is already within me, that I am experiencing love externally only because it is inside me. I try to keep the focus on the universe within and at the same time feel the universe calming through my lover to me. For me, it's a constant discipline to remember to go back inside to connect with my intuition. I'll remind myself regularly during the day to do this. If I find myself getting lost in my outer activities, I'll check back inside to see if I'm being true to my feelings. This keeps the flow of the universe moving through me. As we learn to pay attention to our intuitive feelings, follow our own energy and live our truth, we find that we feel more and more of the life force moving through us. That feeling of greater aliveness is so wonderful that it becomes our major focus and source of fulfillment. We feel less attached to the externals of our lives. Whether or not things go as we have planned seems less important when we feel that our satisfaction is coming primarily from sustaining our connection to our own life energy. Ironically, when we stay true to ourselves in this way, the externals of our lives reflect our inner integrity. We attract to us and create around us exactly what our hearts and souls truly desire. Leaving as a channel. Channeling works in two ways: energy either flows through you to others, or from others to you. For example, as I write my book, I focus on the energy flowing from the universe through me to others. Then, when people say to me, "I just love your books, they've changed my life," I am conscious of appreciation coming from them to me, and through me, back to the universal source. As you become increasingly conscious of the flow of life moving through you and through everything and everyone else, your body will become capable of channeling more energy. The more energy you are willing to receive, the more you'll be able to give. To become a clear channel for the universe presents the highest challenge and offers the greatest potential joy and fulfillment. For every human being, being a channel means living fully and passionately in the world, having deep relationships, playing, working, creating, enjoying money and material possessions, being yourself, yet maintaining your profound connection with the power of the universe within you, learning and growing from every experience that you have. Then you can watch the universe create through you, it can use you to do its work. Living as a channel is an ongoing learning process that's available to anyone who is willing to make the inner commitment. Group channeling. As we develop the ability to trust and follow our intuition, we learn to open and strengthen our individual channels so we can bring more power, creativity, and love through us. When we come together in a relationship or in a group, each individual channel becomes part of a bigger channel. A group channel is created that is more powerful than any of us can be individually. When many bodies and minds are willing to surrender, open up, and grow, these combined energies create a very strong, open structure that allows a lot more energy to come through from the universe. The process intensifies tremendously and everyone gets a powerful boost from the energy, which is capable of pushing each of us to the next level of our growth. Even though we may all be in somewhat different places and going through different things, each person receives the inspiration, the support, the push, or whatever is needed to enable them to take the next step on the journey. A group channel can open us up to a deeper level of awareness, and in the process, we share more of ourselves and find that we are healed of things that have held us back. This is one reason I love teaching workshops and working with groups. My friends call me an energy junkie, because I'm always attracted to situations where the energy is most intense and expansive. I love the way my personal growth process is accelerated by the intensification that happens in groups. I have found that in leading a group, I usually need to start with a certain amount of structure and take responsibility to clearly maintain the leader position. As the group continues, I can let go of the structure more and gradually allow the spontaneous energy of the group to take over. As everyone surrenders and opens up, the group channel is formed. This process can be confusing and chaotic at times because, as the leader, I am no longer in control, in the usual sense of the word. It can arouse my fears and everyone else's, but I find that when I'm willing to move through the fears, something powerful and beautiful emerges through the group channel. The universe leads us into new places and new discoveries that we would not have had an opportunity to experience if we had stayed within a more formal structure. I find the process of group channeling very exciting and rewarding. In a sense, everyone living on this planet is a part of a gigantic group channel, the mass consciousness of humanity. This world, as it is now, is the creation of the group channel. As each one of us, individually, surrenders to the power of the universe and allows that power to transform and enlighten us, the group channel is affected accordingly. The mass consciousness becomes more and more evolved. This is how I see our world being transformed. Meditation. Sit or lie down in a comfortable position. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath and relax your body. Take another deep breath and relax your mind. Continue to breathe slowly and deeply and let go of all tension or anxiety. As you relax, you find yourself in a deep, quiet place inside. Allow yourself to just rest in that place for a few moments, with nothing you need to do or think about. From this deep, quiet place, begin to sense the life force within you. Imagine that you are following your own energy, feeling it, trusting it, moving with it in every moment of your life. You are being completely true to yourself, speaking and living your truth. You feel alive and empowered. Imagine that you are expressing your creativity fully and freely, and let yourself enjoy that experience. By being who you are and expressing yourself, you are having a healing and empowering effect on everyone you encounter and on the world around you. Chapter 5e. Exploring our man why selves. We are all born with an infinite number of different qualities or energies within us. One of our most important tasks in life is to discover and develop as many of these energies as possible, so that we can be well-rounded, and experience the full range of our potential. We can think of these energies as different archetypes, subpersonalities, or selves within us. In a way, it's as if there are many different characters living inside of us, each with its own task and purpose. Since the physical world is a plane of duality, for each of these energies within us, there is an opposite energy. In order to experience wholeness and balance, we need to develop an integrate both sides of every polarity. Most of us, however, are not accustomed to thinking in this way. We have been taught to think in a linear, exclusive fashion, good, bad, right, wrong. So if one quality is good or desirable, its opposite is bad, or undesirable. For example, many of us have been taught that it is virtuous and admirable to give to others. A person who gives a lot is a good person. Therefore, taking is thought to be selfish. A person who takes a lot for himself might be judged as less worthy than a giving person. Someone else with different values might think of this in an opposite way. He might admire a person who knows how to take a lot for himself and think of that person as smart and successful, while looking down on someone who is less aggressive and more giving as being foolish and easily taken advantage of. Either way, one polarity is honored while the opposite is devalued. In reality, both giving and receiving are equally important and valuable. If we give too much and aren't able to take or receive equally, we become depleted and resentful. If we take too much and are unable to give, we lose the satisfaction of making a contribution, and incur the resentment of others. If we can give and receive more or less in balance, we experience a healthy sense of satisfaction. From the time we are born, we begin to experiment with expressing the different energies within us. At that time we are completely dependent on our parents or caretakers for our survival and well-being, so we are extremely sensitive to their reactions to us. If we express an energy that invokes approval and positive attention, we are likely to continue to develop that quality. On the other hand, if something we do draws disapproval, criticism, or punishment, we are likely to discontinue it, unless that is the only form of attention we can get, in which case we may continue it. Fairly soon, we have a pretty good sense of which energies help us get our needs met and which ones seem to cause us more problems than they are worth. This varies greatly according to each individual, family system, time period, and culture. As we grow up, we continue to develop the energies that seem to work best to meet our needs. We become very identified with these qualities, that's who we think we are. These dominant energies become our primary selves, the inner characters whose job it is to take care of us and make our lives work as well as possible. There are usually a group of primary selves who work together as a team, making most of our decisions for us. For example, some of my primary selves are the super responsible one, the pleaser, who wants to make everyone happy so they will like me, the pusher, who wants me to work hard and accomplish a lot, the caretaking mother, who takes care of the child and other people so that they'll feel good with me, the consciousness teacher, healer. There are a number of others on the team as well. They have all worked very hard to make me a worthy, well-loved, and successful person. For every primary self, there is an opposite energy, which oftentimes has been repressed or denied because one way or another we got the message that it was not okay, or because it simply has and had space to develop. These energies become our disowned selves. They are usually buried within our psyche and we either don't know about them at all, or we are aware of them and try to hide them from the world. The disowned selves make up our shadow side, the parts of ourselves that we are embarrassed about, ashamed of, fearful of, or uncomfortable with. Our primary selves are usually working hard to make sure that we don't show these disowned selves to the world, since they are convinced that this would invite criticism, rejection, abandonment, or some form of disaster. The problem is that each of these disowned selves carries an essential energy that is an important part of us. In fact, we are often in desperate need of these qualities in order to bring healing and balance into our lives. As long as we fear our shadow side, however, we can't access the energies that we need. For example, if one of your primary selves is power, and you are very identified with being strong, competent, and independent, it is very likely that you have disowned your vulnerable side, the part of you that feels dependent on others and has needs for love and support. From the point of view of your power primary self, your vulnerable side might seem disgusting, and way too dangerous to show to the world for fear of being hurt. You might be completely unconscious of having a vulnerable side, or you might be aware of it but not want others to see it for fear of the judgment. Strangely, you will find that you are constantly attracting vulnerable people into your life, and you may at times feel very judgmental toward them for being so weak. Believe it or not, you need to consciously accept and own your vulnerable side. Without it, you cannot have real intimacy and closeness with others, and you can't really receive. You are out of touch with a very important part of your human experience. Life has an amazing way of confronting us with, and reflecting to us, the exact energies that we need to discover within ourselves and integrate into our lives. This happens through our dreams, where we are often shown symbolically the relationships between our primary selves and disowned selves. It happens constantly in our relationships, where others reflect to us the various different selves within us. Our imbalances show up in every area of our lives, from our health to our finances. How do we become conscious of the many selves within and bring them into balance in our lives? The first and most important step is to begin to recognize and become aware of our primary selves. What qualities and energies are you most identified with? Can you begin to notice the selves within you that automatically make most of your decisions and run your life? We want to honor and appreciate our primary selves for how much they've done for us while separating a bit from being totally identified with them. As soon as we become conscious of them as energies within us rather than who we are beginning to develop what is called aware ego. Aware ego is the ability to recognize and hold all the different selves within us, so that we can have conscious choice about which ones we bring through at any given moment. Once we have some awareness in relation to our primary selves, the disowned selves start to come forth. The primary selves usually remain our strongest qualities, but we begin to feel more balanced and our lives begin to work better as we begin to integrate the energy Y from previously disowned selves. The disidentification with the primary selves, the development of aware ego, and the acknowledging of the disowned selves is a gradual process that happens over a lifetime. Every step we take in this process, however, can make a big difference in our lives. Our intuitive wisdom is one of the energies or selves within us. If we were encouraged to trust our intuition at an early age, or had an intuitive parent figure as an early role model, our intuition may be a primary self. Since our culture tends to deny or devalue the intuitive function, however, for most of us it is a disowned or relatively underdeveloped self, while rationality is usually one of the primary selves. If rationality is a primary self, and intuition is disowned, in order to get in touch with our inner guidance, we may need to september it from over-identification with our rational side. We do this by recognizing it as one aspect of who we are, and beginning to notice how it operates in our lives. Once we become more aware of it in this way, we are no longer so identified with it and we can begin to have more conscious choice about how and when we use it. This creates space to explore our intuitive side as well. If intuition is a primary self, we may have difficulty thinking logically or dealing with practical matters in a grounded way. In this case, we may need to develop our rational, practical side in order to ground our intuition in the physical world. Owning our shadow side. There is a simple universal principle: everything in the universe wants to be accepted. All aspects of creation want to be loved, appreciated, and included. So, any quality or energy that you are not allowing yourself to experience or express will keep coming up inside of you or around you until you recognize it as a part of you, until you accept it and integrate it into your personality and your life. Many people who are involved in personal growth become very identified with the energies and qualities that they think of as being spiritual, peaceful, loving, giving, and so on. In attempting to develop these aspects of themselves, they often deny and disown other aspects that they consider to be unspiritual: aggression, assertiveness, gut-level honesty, human vulnerability. Unfortunately, this simply creates a huge shadow side within them, which contributes to the collective shadow of denied energies in our world. For some, it can be quite shocking to realize that if we over-identify with peace and love, and disown our inner warrior, we are not contributing to world peace. Quite the opposite, in fact. If we don't own our inner warrior and channel him in a constructive way in our lives, he retreats into the shadows of our individual and collective psyche, and actually contributes to the perpetuation of war on our planet. If we truly want inner peace and world peace, we must do the difficult but fascinating work of owning and appreciating all aspects of who we are, truly making peace with ourselves. Real consciousness involves holding both sides of any polarity, not identifying with one. Exploring and embracing our darkness is the only way we can truly live in the light. Meditation. Get in a comfortable position in a quiet place. Bring to mind one of your main personality characteristics or primary selves. Get a sense in your body of how that energy feels. Now imagine an opposite energy, which may be disowned or less developed in you. Imagine what that energy would feel like. What would be the positive benefits of developing more ability to contact that energy? How could that bring more balance into your life? See if you can feel a balance of both of those energies at the same time. For example, if you are an outgoing person, you might balance that with a quieter, more introspective energy. If you are hardworking, you might balance that with the energy of relaxation or playfulness. Chapter 6. THEWORLD is our mere ROR. The physical world is our creation. We each create our own version of the world, our particular reality, our unique life experience. Because I am creating my life, I can look at my creation to get feedback about myself. Just as an artist looks at his latest creation to see what works well and what doesn't, and thereby improves his skills, we can look at the ongoing masterwork of our lives to appreciate who we are and to recognize what we still need to learn. We're creating our lives as we go along, therefore, our experiences give us an instant, ongoing reflection of ourselves. In fact, the external world is like a giant mirror that reflects our consciousness clearly and accurately. Once we have learned how to look into that mirror and perceive and interpret its reflection, we have a fabulous tool for self-awareness. Understanding that the world is our mirror can help us see our lives as a reflection of our beliefs, attitudes, and emotional patterns. Viewed in this way, the external world can teach us about hidden aspects of ourselves that we can't see directly. The process is based on two premises. 1. I assume that everything in my life is my reflection, my present. There are no accidents or events that are unrelated to me. If I see or feel something, if it has any impact on me, then my soul has attracted or created it to show me something. If it didn't mirror some part of myself, I wouldn't even be able to see it. All the people in my life are reflections of the various characters and energies that live inside of me. 2. I always try to avoid putting myself down for the reflections I see. I know that nothing is negative. Everything is a gift that brings me to self-awareness. After all, I'm here to learn. If I was already perfect, I wouldn't be here. Why should I get angry at myself when I see things I've been unconscious of? It would be like a first grader getting frustrated because she wasn't in college yet. I try to maintain a compassionate attitude toward myself and my learning process. To the extent that I can do this, the learning process becomes fun and really quite interesting. I am learning to view my life as a fascinating and adventurous movie. All the characters in it are parts of me played out on the big screen so that I can clearly see them. Once I see them and recognize their various feelings and voices inside myself, I can understand that they are all important and valuable parts of me that I need for my full expression in this life. If the movie portrays problems, hassles, or struggles, I know I must check inside to find out where I'm not being true to myself or have more learning and healing to do. I also know that when I'm trusting and being myself as fully as possible, everything in my life reflects this by falling into place easily and working smoothly. Problems are a message GES. If there are problems in your life, the universe is trying to get your attention. It's saying, hey, there's something you need to be aware of, something that needs to be changed here. If you pay attention to the small signals, you will learn from them, but if you don't, the problems will intensify until you get the message and start to pay attention. If you accept that every time a problem occurs, the universe is showing you something, you will make rapid progress on your journey of self-discovery. When something negative happens, it's tempting to say, why does this happen to me? I'm doing the best I can, but nothing seems to be going right. I can't understand why I keep having this problem. If you find yourself doing this, try to open up to another way of looking at things. Go inside and say to the universe, I know you're trying to show me something. Help me understand what it is. After you do this, let go of focusing on it, and go about your life, but stay open to the message that will be coming through. It may come in the form of an inner feeling or awareness, some words from a friend, or something unexpected that happens to you. The message may come through immediately or it may take quite a while. One of my clients was fired, quite unexpectedly, over 2 years ago. At first, he was devastated, but after a few months of getting his bearings, he went into business on his own. His business is now doing very well, but it was only a few weeks ago that he understood the message that his firing reflected. As he was talking to a friend about working for other people, he suddenly realized that the firing incident was trying to tell him that he was ready to be in business for himself, rather than working for other people. For him, this realization not only affirmed his present course in life, but it also finally resolved the sense of failure about being fired that had lingered with him since the incident. Interpreting the reflection. The trickiest part of using the mirror process is learning how to interpret the reflection you see. Once you do get a message, but you're not quite sure what it is, how do you find out? It will not help to overanalyze or obsess about it with your rational mind. It is far more effective to turn to your intuitive self to ask the universe for help. Simply sit quietly, take a few deep breaths, and focus your awareness within, to the wise part of you that is in touch with the wisdom of the universe. Ask this part, either silently or out loud, for guidance or help in understanding. 67. The message. As you tune into your gut feelings and get a sense of what feels right in the moment, act on this feeling. After acting on the feeling, try to be aware of the external and internal feedback from your actions. The external feedback is how well things work. Do things seem to fall into place and work easy? Lie. Then you're surely in tune with your inner guidance. If you're struggling to do something that doesn't happen easily, it's a message to let go and check back in to find out what you really want to be doing. Internal feedback will come to you as feelings. If you feel empowered, more alive, then it's right. The ultimate key is aliveness. The more the universe moves through you, the more alive you feel. Conversely, every time you don't follow your inner guidance, you feel a loss of energy, loss of power, a sense of spiritual or emotional deadness. In being true to yourself, you will feel more alive, but you may also feel uncomfortable. This is because you are risking change. As you undergo certain changes, you may experience various intense emotions such as fear, grief, or anger. Allow these emotions express sign. After all, your inner guidance has to move through years of accumulated unconsciousness, denial, doubt, and fear. So let your feelings come up and wash through you. You are being cleaned out and healed. At times like this, it is very important to have emotional support and a safe place to explore your feelings and do your healing process. If possible, I recommend finding a good therapist or support group, an environment where you are encouraged and supported in experiencing your own feelings and needs, expressing yourself honestly, and trusting your own sense of what's right for you. When you are growing and changing rapidly, your inner doubts and fears will often be reflected in the reactions of those around you. If your friends and family question or judge the changes in you, recognize that they are simply mirroring the doubting, fearful voices in you, such as, what if I'm doing the wrong thing? Can I really trust this process? Respond to such feedback from others in whatever way you feel is appropriate, reassure them, ignore them, argue with them, whatever. The important thing is to recognize that you are really dealing with your own inner fears. The conflicts you may experience with others are mirroring the conflicts within yourself, between the parts of you that want to grow and change, and those that feel safer to do things the way you've always done them. Affirm that you are learning to trust yourself more and more. You will be amazed to see how frequently others will begin to mirror your increasing self-trust and confidence by responding to you with trust and confidence. Here are some ways that the mirror of life reflects us. If you judge and criticize yourself, others will judge and criticize you. If you hurt yourself, others will hurt you. If you lie to yourself, others will lie to you. If you are irresponsible to yourself, others will be irresponsible in relation to you. If you blame yourself, others will blame you. If you do violence to yourself emotionally, others will do violence to you emotionally, or even physically. If you don't listen to your feelings, no one will listen to your feelings. If you love yourself, others will love you. If you respect yourself, others will respect you. If you trust yourself, others will trust you. If you are honest with yourself, others will be honest with you. If you are gentle and compassionate with yourself, others will treat you with compassion. If you appreciate yourself, others will appreciate you. If you honor yourself, others will honor you. If you enjoy yourself, others will enjoy you. Changing old patterns. It's very important to realize that you may not be able to change your old patterns overnight. Sometimes things seem to change rapidly, once you've recognized the message, but sometimes it seems like you keep doing the same thing and getting the same unpleasant results long after you feel you know better. It takes time for the personality to change its habits, so you may have to watch the same old movie repeat itself a few more times. If you feel your progress is too slow, ask the universe for help. And reach out for human help as well, by finding a therapist or support group. Change happens not by trying to make yourself change but by becoming conscious of what's not working. You can then ask your higher self for help in releasing the old and bringing in the new pattern. Remember, the darkest hour is just before the dawn. Change often occurs just when you've given up, or when you least expect it. Using the mirror or process. In using the world as your mirror, you must deal with the external realities of your life in whatever way you need to handle them. But as soon as possible, before, during, or after you deal with the externals, check inside to find out what is being shown to you. For example, if someone is angry at you and blames or criticizes you, you may need to say to them, "Stop blaming me. I don't want to hear your judgments and criticisms of me. If you can talk about your own feelings, I'll be glad to listen. But if you keep attacking me, I'm going to leave. If they take more responsibility for the feelings, for example, I felt hurt and angry when you didn't call me yesterday, then you will probably be able to continue the conversation on a more productive level. If they continue to blame you and focus on your faults, you may need to support yourself by walking out of the room and refusing to continue the conversation until they stop their attack. Either way, you have handled the external situation. Now, as soon as you get a chance, check inside yourself and ask, I wonder what this person's anger is mirroring in me. You may realize that you have been feeling very angry and critical toward yourself lately. Or perhaps you will discover that a part of you is upset because you haven't been paying enough attention to yourself. When other people want more from you, it's usually an indication that you want more from yourself. It may in fact be a signal that it's time to show up and be more present with your own needs and feelings. Interestingly, other people in our lives often start feeling better when we become more present with ourselves. A friend of mine discovered that her boyfriend had been seeing another woman and lying to her about it. She was very hurt and angry, particularly to discover the dishonesty. They had a long talk in which she was able to express her feelings to him. Then she took some time alone for a while to sort things out on her own. When she was alone, she asked herself, is there some way I'm lying to myself, some way I'm not being totally truthful and honest with myself, that would cause me to attract a dishonest man? She let go of thinking about it and went to work. By the end of the day she realized she had often felt this man was not fully present with her, was not being real with her. But in the past, she had denied and covered up these feelings because she was afraid to confront him with what she felt and intuitively knew. Thus, she effectively lied to herself and supported him in his deceptions as well. She realized this was a lesson in learning to trust her feelings more and to have the courage to express and support them. She started to do this more with her boyfriend, and they eventually worked out a more honest, communicative relationship. She might also have chosen not to continue the relationship. What matters is that she received the gift from it, learning to trust and express her feelings. If you are emotionally triggered by something a person does, the two of you are probably mirrors for each other. It may appear that you have opposing viewpoints, but internally you are probably similar. One of you is acting out one side of the internal conflict, while the other plays out the other side. For example, one person may want more commitment in a relationship, while the other wants more freedom. They become extremely polarized on this issue and truly believe they want opposite things. However, if one person suddenly switches her position, the one who wanted commitment suddenly wants freedom, the other person often swings to the opposite polarity. The reason for this is that they are attempting to resolve an inner conflict they both have, the desire for closeness and security and the need for independence and autonomy, which may feel like the fear of loneliness versus the fear of entrapment. Once people look inside and become more aware of the feelings, they often recognize that they have simply projected their inner conflict onto the outside world so that they could recognize and deal with it. If a person truly and unequivocally wants a committed relationship, he will simply attract another person who wants the same thing. If someone feels completely clear about wanting to explore being with many partners, he simply does it. By using the mirror process, you can recognize what you really feel and learn to be more honest with yourself. Once you recognize an internal conflict, you can acknowledge that both polarities are real, lie within you, and find ways to honor both of the energies. For example, we all contain the polarities of desiring closeness in relationships while also desiring independence and autonomy. As conscious beings, we must learn to satisfy both these needs. By honoring both of these energies within us, we can learn to create relationships in which we have both closeness and independence. Seeing the world as your mirror also gives you wonderful opportunities to receive positive feedback. Think of everything that you like and enjoy about your life right now. You created these things, they are also your mirrors. Think of the people you know whom you love, enjoy, respect, and admire. They are your mirrors. They couldn't even be in your life if they didn't reflect you. You would not be able to recognize their positive qualities if you didn't have similar ones. Think of the people and animals that love you. They are a mirror of how you love yourself. If you have a home that you love, or a particular spot in nature that is very beautiful to you, it is a mirror of your own beauty. When you see beauty anywhere, it's a reflection of yourself. There are mirrors everywhere. Whoever you have a connection with is a mirror for you, and the deeper the connection, the stronger the mirror. Part of the fascination in using the mirror process is discovering who we are through these external reflect-ions. The key is to always go back inside to discover the meaning of the reflection for you. The more you are willing to do that without either rationalizing away what you see or blaming yourself for it, the faster you can develop and express the multifaceted potential within you. Meditation. Relax and close your eyes. Take a few deep, slow breaths and move into a deep place inside of you. Bring to your mind an important person or thing in your life and ask him, her, it what it is mirroring to you. Stay open to receiving the answer, whether it comes in words, feelings, or images. It may come immediately or some time later. Exercises. 1. Think of a person you especially love and admire. List all the positive qualities. Think about how those qualities mirror you. In some cases, they may be qualities you have not fully developed in yourself. Recognize that this person is here to teach and inspire you by his or her example. 2. Make a list of the things and people in your life that you especially like. Praise and appreciate yourself for creating and attracting these mirrors. 3. Think of someone whom you judge or feel uncomfortable with. Try to figure out exactly what quality they have that you dislike. Is it possible that this is a quality within yourself that you deny or judge, and that your life could be enhanced if you made peace with, and were able to express, that part of yourself? For example, if you dislike someone who appears very selfish, they may be reflecting the disowned part of you that wants you to pay more attention to taking care of your own needs. Perhaps you are overly identified with taking care of others. Chapter 7 Spirit and Form. Spirit is the essence of life, the energy of the universe that presentatis all things. Each one of us is a part of that spirit, a divine entity. So the spirit is the higher self, the eternal being that lives within us. Form is the physical world. As an individual, my form is my physical body and my personality, which includes my mind and my emotions. It is also my self-concept, my ego, identity structure. My name is Shakti Gawain. I was born on September 30, 1948. I'm 5 feet 9 inches tall. I'm intelligent and have a generally outgoing personality. This is all information about my form. We, as spiritual beings, created the physical world as a place to 75. Learn. It's our school, our playground, our artist studio. I believe that we're here to master the process of creation and to learn how to integrate all levels of our being, spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical, so that we can live in the physical world in balance and wholeness. Physicists are now discovering what metaphysicians have claimed for thousands of years: seemingly solid physical matter is, in reality, made of energy. If we look through a powerful microscope at anything solid, we see an infinite number of little vibrating particles. If we closely examine one of these particles, we discover that it is made of even smaller particles, and so on. The fact is that everything physical is made of energy, which we can also call life force, or spirit. So modern science supports the ancient metaphysical truth that form is created out of spirit. When our spirit decides to manifest as physical form, the first thing it creates is a physical body in which to house itself. We choose a life situation and create a body in accordance with what we feel will best serve and teach us in this lifetime. Ultimately, our goal is to create a body, personality that can fully express our divine creative spirit, a form that can do everything our spirit wants to do easily, skillfully, and beautifully. However, our physical form, body, personality, has an important job of its own to do. Its main responsibility is to make sure that we survive physically, and once that is assured, that we actually thrive physically and emotionally in this life. So our forms have a certain consciousness that revolves around making sure we get enough food and shelter, protecting ourselves from danger, gaining a sense of security by making sure reproduction takes place and offspring survive, creating family and community in which we can give and receive the emotional nurturing we need, and finding a sense of belonging. The energy of our spirit is very different from that of our form. Our spirit has a very expanded vision and perspective, but very little understanding of what it means to be in a human form. Our form carries our human experience with all its limitations and vulnerabilities, and also with the knowledge of how to live in the physical world. After we are born into the body, most of us forget who we are on the spiritual level and why we came here. We take on the survival consciousness of the physical world and we get lost in the world of form. We forget that we are souls, believing we are just our personalities. We lose touch with our source of power and feel lost and helpless. Life becomes a tremendous struggle to find meaning and satisfaction. We may spend many lifetimes caught up in this cycle. Certainly, most of us have spent many years in this lifetime looking outside ourselves, trying to find fulfillment in the world of form. Eventually we realize that it's not working. No matter what we do in the world, we don't find profound happiness. We become unwilling to spend one more lifetime, one more year, or even one more minute in futile struggle. In frustration and hopelessness, we give up. This is usually a painful and frightening place in a person's life. It feels like hitting bottom. It is a kind of death of our old identity when the form recognizes the hopelessness of trying to live this way and surrenders its fight. It would rather die than keep trying. At this time a person often has thoughts and feelings of death, or may experience the death of a close friend or family member, or several of them. Some people create a serious illness, accident, or other major crisis at this time, and some contemplate or even attempt suicide. But the darkest hour is truly just before the dawn. When we finally give up the struggle to find fulfillment out there, we have nowhere to go but within. It is at this moment of total surrender that a new light begins to dawn. When we give up our old way of doing things, we create space for a new energy to come through. This is like being reborn. We are infants in this new world and have no idea how to live since none of our old ways work here. We feel uncertain and out of control. Yet hope is reborn in us, and a new power and vision start to come through. This can be the beginning of developing a form that is conscious of, and integrated with, our spirit. Ram Dass has a beautiful analogy for this process. He likens it to a clock, where 12 o'clock is the starting point. From 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock life is totally lost in the world of form. From 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock is gradual disillusionment with the world, and 6 o'clock is where you hit bottom. You feel that you lose everything, but as you pass through 6 o'clock you are actually waking up to reconnecting with spirit. From 6 o'clock back up to 12 o'clock is ever-increasing integration of spirit and form. As individuals, we are at various stages in this process. I have a sense that we each have one major cycle of this type lasting over many physical lifetimes, and we also have an infinite number of minor cycles, sometimes almost daily. When we, as individuals, first rediscover our spirit, we are Yuzu ally drawn to nurture and cultivate this awareness. This often involves withdrawing from the world to one degree or another, and going within. For some people this takes the form of spending time in nature, for some it involves practicing meditation, going to retreats, and so forth. For some it may be simply finding time to be alone and quiet. Often it's a time of partial or complete withdrawal from relationships, work, and or other attachments that tend to pull us outside of ourselves. For some, this phase may last only a few weeks or months. Each of us is unique, so we all experience this shift within in different ways. In one way or another, we learn to go inside and be in that quieter place in ourselves for a while. There we find a deeper and deeper connection with our spirit. While we are deeply connected with ourselves in this way, we often find that we have a feeling of clarity, vision, wisdom, power, and love. This is because in that moment, we are connected with the expansive energy of spirit, and not distracted by the problems and responsibilities of dealing with the world of form. If we choose to follow one of the traditional spiritual paths, we may remain more or less withdrawn from the world. In this way we can be true to our spirit and avoid dealing with the attachments and patterns of our form. Unfortunately, we never have the opportunity to fully integrate spirit and form. In order to create the new world, we are being challenged to move out into the world of form with full spiritual awareness. We need to recognize the differences between our spirit and our form and learn to integrate them. In G rating spirit and FORM. The first step in the process of consciously integrating form and spirit is to be able to recognize and feel both the consciousness of your spirit and the consciousness of your form. You may be accustomed to feeling only one of them most of the time, with occasional flashes of the other. Or you may flip back and forth frequently between the two perspectives. It's as if one takes control of the body for a while and you see things from that viewpoint. Then the other one takes over and suddenly everything looks quite different. This understanding can explain a lot of things that many of us are experiencing in our lives. Why is it that we have wonderful moments of consciousness and clarity, and then find we have completely lost our perspective and become immersed in fear and pain again? How is it that we can feel so loving, wise, and accepting one day and the next day feel so angry, foolish, and judgmental? Why did we feel like we'd really gotten it at a workshop and then seem to lose it the next day? How is it that we can feel so peaceful and unattached when we are meditating, yet often our relationships seem like a worse mess than ever? And how come we have such trust in the abundance of the universe but we're still having financial problems? The answer is simple: we are dealing with the discrepancies between spirit and form. This is a very difficult thing to confront, and we are facing a real challenge. Many people reach this point and have a hard time going any further. For example, I frequently get inspiring, creative ideas for a new project I want to do. I get a very strong vision of how wonderful it will be and how it can work. All this is coming from my spirit, of course. I get very excited and jump into the project, making all kinds of plans and initiating many actions in that direction. A few days or weeks later, I find myself feeling totally overwhelmed, overworked, frustrated, and ready to throw the whole thing out the window. My spirit had a true vision, but I was trying to achieve it without regard to the needs of my human form. At this point, I have to stop and consider what's realistic for me, then set the project aside for a while, or allow it to take longer and develop more slowly. My spirit tends to race ahead, so it has to learn to go at the pace my form can handle. The second step is to love and accept both aspects of yourself. They are both beautiful and vital parts of you. Without your spirit, you wouldn't be alive, you'd only be a dead body. Without your form, you wouldn't be able to be in this world, you'd be existing in some other realm of consciousness. It may be frustrating at times to see that your form can't live up to all the ideals that your spirit may have. It's important to recognize that our form has its own wisdom and the spirit can learn from the form, just as the reverse is true. After all, we chose to come to this plane of existence in order to experience being human. For example, many years ago I was living with a man and we had an open relationship. In other words, we were free to be with other lovers. I had a strong spiritual ideal that I could love someone deeply and allow him to be free to follow energy he might feel with someone else, while I was free to do likewise. Sometimes I was able to do this briefly, and I had some beautiful moments where I felt an expansive and exhilarating unconditional love. But most of the time I was overwhelmed with jealousy and emotional pain. I finally realized that my spiritual ideal simply did not fit the reality of my human feelings and needs. It became very clear to me that I could only experience the kind of emotional intimacy that I wanted in a monogamous relationship. One important key to integrating spirit and form is learning to listen to your intuition and act on it. Your inner guidance will always move you in the direction of greater balance and integrity in between form and spirit. Even in the process of learning to trust your inner guidance, however, you can't move faster than your form is ready to go. Here is a very important point: you cannot force your form to trust and follow intuition through will. You must allow it to educate itself through conscious observation. In other words, you can't force yourself to always follow your intuitive feelings, even though you desire to live that way. Sometimes it may seem like too big a risk. Even though your spirit knows it would work out, your form is too afraid to do it. Don't push yourself past what you are ready to do. Simply observe the process, and be honest with yourself about how it feels and what happens. Then, the change will happen naturally and spontaneously. For example, suppose you are with a friend and there's something you want to say but you are afraid to do so for fear your friend will get hurt or angry and reject you. If you find you do have the courage, go ahead and say what you feel. Then, observe what happens and how you feel as a result. Chances are good that you will feel energized and empowered by the experience. If, on the other hand, you are too afraid to speak the truth, don't try to push yourself past your fear. Again, simply observe yourself being with your friend and not being totally yourself. Notice that you feel deadness and loss of energy. You may also feel resentful toward your friend. Try not to judge yourself for your lack of action. Remember, this is a learning process. The spirit usually tends toward expansiveness, risk-taking, and change. The form often tends toward what it perceives to be safety, security, and the status quo, because its basic task is to make sure we survive, and it fears that change might mean disaster or death. If you are able to observe yourself without rationalization or judgment, you will begin to notice that when you trust yourself and follow your energy fully, you feel better. Conversely, when you are controlled by old patterns of fear and holding back, you feel worse. After a while, your form gets the message clearly and begins to spontaneously follow the energy instead of the old pattern because it knows it will feel better. Eventually you have a form that automatically goes for the most alive energy in every situation, without having to think about it and control it. In this process of learning to trust yourself, many old feelings and deep emotional patterns will come to the surface to be healed and released. This is a very important part of it, and must be allowed to happen. Old memories and experiences may be triggered. Feelings of sadness, fear, pain, guilt, and rage may come up. Allow yourself to feel all of it, allow it to wash through you, it will be released. It is being cleared out of your form. As the light of spirit penetrates every cell of your body, it dispels the darkness. As you learn to consciously observe the transformation process, you will watch yourself repeating a lot of old patterns long after you seemingly know better. Spiritually and intellectually, you realize there is another way, but emotionally, you are still clinging to the old habits. This is a difficult time. Try to be patient and compassionate with yourself. When you recognize the futility of an old pattern so clearly, it's about to change. A short time later, you will suddenly begin to respond differently, in a more positive way. As you do the work of integrating spirit and form, you may see your physical body change and become lighter, stronger, more clearly defined, healthier, and more beautiful. Because your life is your creation and the mirror of your transformation, all the forms in your life, your work, money, car, house, relationships, community, the world, will increasingly express the power and beauty of your spirit. Meditation. Get comfortable, relax, and close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths and relax your body and mind completely. Allow your conscious awareness to move into a deep, quiet place within you. Imagine that there is a beautiful golden light radiating from a place deep within you. It begins to grow and expand until it fills your entire body. It's very powerful, and as it fills you, it penetrates into every cell of your body, literally waking up each molecule to the light. Imagine your entire body glowing and radiating with this light. Then, see and feel your body being transformed, becoming healthier, stronger, and more beautiful. Imagine everything else in your life being similarly transformed. Exercise. See if you can observe yourself non-judgmentally and notice when you are able to listen to your intuitive feelings and act on them, and when you are not. Observe how you feel and what happens in each of these situations. Ask your higher power to help you learn to trust and follow your energy more and more. Chapter 8. He male and female within. Each of us has male and female energies within us. I believe that one of the most important challenges we have in this world is to develop these energies fully, so they can interact in harmony with each other. The Eastern philosophies have always included the concept of yin, feminine, receptive, and yang, masculine, active, and have said that everything in the universe is made up of these two forces. In the West, Carl Jung did pioneering and exciting work with his concept of the anima and the animus. He explained that men have a feminine side, anima, and women have a masculine side, animus, that most of us have strongly repressed these aspects of our selves, and that we must learn to come to terms with them. He and his followers have done wonderful work using dreams, myths, and symbols to help men and women reclaim the lost, denied parts of themselves. Many other philosophers, psychologists, poets, playwrights, and artists have expressed the ideas of masculine and feminine energies within ourselves and within everything. As I mentioned in the introduction, the person who helped me the most to understand the male and female within was Shirley Luthman. Her ideas in this area were so clear, simple, and profound they literally began to revolutionize my life. I found that this concept provided me with a powerful tool. I could look at just about anything in my life, or in the world, from the perspective of male, female energies and understand what was really going on so much better. I began to adapt and reinterpret the ideas I'd learned from Eastern philosophy, Jung, and Luthman in my own way and incorporate them into my own metaphor. I have found that wherever I go, when I start to share this metaphor with people, they really light up. They have the same reaction I did. It makes so many things so clear. Some people have resistance to the words female and male, because in our culture we have so many preconceived ideas about what those words mean, so much emotional charge associated with them. If it's more comfortable for you, substitute the words yin and yang, active and receptive, dynamic and magnetic, or any other words that appeal to you. Male and female. I think of our female aspect as our intuitive self. This is the deepest, wisest part of ourselves. This is the feminine energy, for men or women. It is the receptive aspect, the open door through which the higher intelligence of the universe can flow, the receiving end of the channel. Our female communicates to us through our intuition, those inner promptings, gut feelings, or images that come from a deep place within us. If we don't pay conscious attention to her in our waking life, she attempts to reach us through our dreams, our emotions, and our physical body. She is the source of higher wisdom within us, and if we learn to listen carefully to her, moment by moment, she will guide us perfectly. The male aspect is action, our ability to do things in the physical world, to think, to speak, to move our bodies. Again, whether you are a man or a woman, your masculine energy is your ability to act. It is the outflowing end of the channel. The feminine receives the universal creative energy and the masculine expresses it in the world through action, thus, we have the crescentative process. Our female is inspired by a creative impulse and communicates it to us through a feeling, and our male acts on it by speaking, moving, or doing whatever is appropriate. For example, an artist might awaken with an inspired idea for a painting, an image communicated from his female, and immediately go into his studio, pick up his brush, and begin painting, action taken by his male. A mother might feel sudden concern for her child, a warning from her inner female, and run into the other room and pull the child away from a hot stove, action taken by her male. A businessperson might have an impulse to contact a certain associate, guidance from his or her female, make a call, action taken by his or her male, and put together a new deal. In each case, where the male and female within were in creative union, there was a creative result, a painting, saving the child, a business enterprise. Even the simple sequence of feeling hungry, going to the kitchen, and fixing a meal illustrates the same process. The union of feminine and masculine energies within the individual is the basis of all creation. Our female intuition plus our male action equals creativity. In order to live a harmonious and creative life, you need to have both your inner female and male energies fully developed and functioning correctly together. To fully integrate the inner male and female, you need to put the female in the guiding position. This is her natural function. She is your intuition, the door to your higher intelligence. Your male listens to her and acts on her feelings. The true function of male energy is absolute clarity, directness, and a passionate strength based on what the universe inside of you, coming through your female, tells you. The female says, I feel this. He says, I hear your feelings. What would you like me to do? She says, I want that. He says, you want that. Okay, great, I'll get it for you. And he goes directly to get it for her, trusting that in her desire is the wisdom of the universe. Remember now that I am talking about an internal process in each of us. Sometimes people externalize this idea and think I'm saying that men should let women tell them what to do. What I'm actually saying is that we each need to let our intuition guide us, and then be willing to follow that guidance directly and fearlessly. The nature of the feminine is wisdom, love, and clear vision expressed through feeling and desire. The male nature is all-out risk-taking action in service to the feminine, much like the chival Rouse Knight and his lady. Through his surrender to her and his action on her behalf, our male energy builds a personality structure within us that protects and honors the sensitive energy of our intuitive female. I often imagine my male as standing behind my female, supporting, protecting, and backing her up. For a man, the image might be reversed. You might see your female as within or behind you, guiding, empowering, nurturing, and supporting you. When these two energies are thus in harmony and working together, it's an incredible feeling, a strong, open, creative channel, with power, wisdom, peace, and love flowing through. The old male and the old female. Unfortunately, most of us have not yet learned how to allow our male and female energies to function naturally, in the proper relationship with each other. In our patriarchal culture, we have used our male energy, our ability to think and act to suppress and control our feminine intuition, rather than to support and express her. I call this traditional use of the male energy the old male, and it exists equally in men and women, although it is often more obvious and external in men, more subtle and internal in women. Asterisk. The old male is that part of us that wants to keep control. He is terrified of our feminine power because he doesn't want to surrender to the power of the universe. He is afraid that if he surrenders, he will lose his individual identity. He holds on to individuality and separateness at any cost. Therefore, he denies the power of the feminine, which is a force moving toward union and oneness. In relationship with the old male, the female is helpless in the world. Her power cannot move directly into the physical world without the support of the male's action. Her power is suppressed, and must come out indirectly through manipulative patterns or physical illnesses, or in sudden, unfocused ways, such as emotional outbursts. You can see that men and women have played out these roles externally. In the traditional male role, men are taught to deny and suppress their inner female, to be machine-like, unemotional, total lie in control, and suppressive toward women. Secretly, they may be terrified of women because women remind them of the power of their inner feminine side, which they are busy denying. Because Sidra Stone has written a fascinating book exploring the hidden patriarchal voice in women, called The Shadow King. See recommended resources. They are cut off from their internal power source, they really feel very alone and lost. In the traditional female role, a woman also learns to use her male energy to deny and suppress her feminine power. This leaves her helpless, dependent on men, and able to express her power only indirectly, through manipulation. She may be afraid that if men found out how powerful she is, they would abandon her, so she carefully keeps her power hidden, perhaps even from herself. It's important to realize that both the old male and the old female exist in each sex. A woman who is expressing herself in the traditional way described above has a controlling, macho, old male inside her, suppressing her. She will tend to attract men who mirror this male personality and will act it out in the behavior toward her. This behavior may range from paternalistic and chauvinistic to verbally and physically abusive, depending on how the woman treats herself and what she believes she deserves. Once she begins to trust and love herself more and starts to use her internal male energy to support herself, the behavior of the men in her life will reflect that shift. They will either change dramatically and continue to change as she does, or they will disappear from her life, to be replaced by men who are supportive and appreciative of her, who will mirror her new attitude toward herself. I've seen this happen many times. The traditional macho man has a helpless female voice inside of him desperately trying to be heard. He will tend to attract women who have a low self-image and are clingy and needy, or who express the power indirectly through manipulation, little girl cuteness, sexual seductiveness, cattiness, or dishonesty. These women reflect his lack of trust and respect for his inner female by not trusting and respecting themselves. By opening to, and trusting, his own feminine nature, he'll find within himself the nurturing, support, and connection he's been lacking. The women in his life will mirror this shift by becoming stronger, more independent, more direct and honest, and more genuinely loving and nurturing. He new male and the new female. The feminine power, the power of the spirit, is always within us. It is up to our male energy to determine how we relate to that power. We can either fight it, block it, attempt to control it, and try to keep ourselves separate from it, or we can surrender and open to it, learn to support it, and move with it. Individually and collectively, we are shifting from a position of fear and control into surrender and trust of the intuitive. The power of the feminine energy is on the rise in our world. As she emerges within us and we acknowledge and surrender to her, the old male within us is transformed. He re-emerges, birthed through the female, as the new male, the one who goes all out in his trust and love for her. He must grow to become her equal in power so that they can be the partners they are meant to be. I believe that the new male has been truly birthed in our consciousness only within the last few years. Before that, we had little experience in our bodies of the true male energy. Our only concept of male was the old patriarchal male, an energy divorced from the feminine. The birth of the new male is synonymous with the birth of the new age. The new world is being built within us and mirrored around us as the new male, physical form, emerges in all his glory from the feminine power, spirit. And I'm a GE. Every now and then I do a visualization process in which I ask for an image of my male and female. Each time I do it, I receive something a little different that teaches me something new. I'm sharing with you one of the most powerful images because it is such a dramatic illustration of one aspect of the relationship between a female and male. My female energy appeared as a beautiful, radiant queen, overflowing with love and light. She was being carried through the streets on a litter borne by several carriers. The people were lining the streets, waiting for an opportunity to see her. She was so beautiful, open, and loving that as she passed by, waving, smiling, and throwing kisses to people, they were instantly healed of any pain or limitation. By her side walked a samurai warrior carrying a sword. This was my male energy. It was well understood by everyone that if anyone made a threatening move toward the queen, he would instantly raise his sword and ruthlessly cut down the offender. Knowing this, naturally, no one dared to harm her. He was willing to be absolutely unhesitating in his trust of his own judgment and his own response, which left her completely safe and protected. Feeling totally safe, having no need to hide or defend herself, she was free to be completely open, soft, and loving and to give her gifts freely and generously to all around her. Meditation. Sit or lie down in a comfortable position and close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths and relax your body and mind. Complete lie. Allow your conscious awareness to move into a quiet place within you. Now bring to your mind an image that represents your inner female. This image could be an actual person, an animal, or it could be something more abstract, an energy, a color or shape, or simply a feeling. Spontaneously take whatever comes to you. Take a look at your female and get a sense or a feeling of what she represents to you. Notice some of the details of the image. Notice the colors and textures. Notice how you feel about her. Ask her if she has anything she would like to say to you right now. Allow yourself to receive her communication, which may or may not be in words. You may also ask her any questions you have. There may be something you want to know from her. Again, receive her communication to you, whether it comes in words, a feeling, or an image. Once you have allowed yourself to receive her communication, and you feel complete for this moment, take a deep breath and release her image from your mind. Come back to a quiet, still place. Now draw to mind an image that represents your male self. Again, take what image comes to you. It could be an image of an actual man or it could be some abstract symbol or color. Explore this image. Begin to notice the details of it. Notice its colors and texture. Notice how you feel about him. Then, ask him if he has anything to communicate to you at this time. Be receptive to receiving his communication, whether it is in words or some other form. If you have anything you want to ask him, do this now. Be open to any words or images you may receive. If an answer doesn't come to you immediately, know that it will come later. Once you feel complete with your communication with him, release his image from your mind. Come again to a quiet place inside. Now, ask for the images of both your male and female to come to you at the same time. See how they relate to one another. Are they in relationship to one another or are they separate? If they are in relationship to one another, how do they relate? Ask them if they have anything they would like to communicate to one another or to you. Stay open to what comes to you in words, images, or feelings. If you have anything you'd like to say to them or ask them, do that now. When you feel complete, once again take a deep breath and release their images from your mind. Come back to a quiet, still place inside. Exercise. Close your eyes and contact your female intuitive voice. Ask her what she wants. Is there a gift she desires or something she wants to say or do? When she has told you what she wants, imagine your new male supporting her desire. See him taking whatever necessary action to honor her need and desire. When you open your eyes, do your best to follow whatever you feel your intuition wants you to do. Chapter 9. Men and Women. We all instinctively understand the basic functions of feminine and masculine energies, but we may not realize that they both exist in each person. More often we tend to associate male and female energies with their respective body types. Thus, women have become the symbols of female energy. Traditionally, women have developed and expressed receptivity, nurturing, intuition, sensitivity, and emotion. In the past, many women more or less repressed assertiveness, direct action, intellect, and the ability to function effectively and strongly in the world. Likewise, men have become the symbols of male energy. Traditionally, they have developed their ability to act in the world strongly, directly, assertively, and aggressively. Many men repressed and denied their intuition, emotional feelings, sensitivity, and nurturing. As we cannot live in the world without the full range of masculine and feminine energies, each sex has been helplessly dependent on the other half for its survival. From this perspective, each person is only half a person, dependent on their other half for its very existence. Men have desperately needed women to provide them with the nurturing, intuitive wisdom, and emotional support without which they unconsciously know they would die. Women have been dependent on men to take care of them and provide for them in the physical world, where they haven't known how to take care of themselves. It might seem like a perfectly workable arrangement. Men help women, women help men, except for one underlying problem. As an individual, if you don't feel whole, if you feel your survival depends on another person, you are constantly afraid of losing them. What if that person dies or goes away? Then you die, too, unless you can find another such person who is willing to take care of you. Of course, something might happen to that person also. Thus, life becomes a constant state of fear in which the other person is merely an object for you, your supply of love or protection. You must control that source at any cost, either directly, by force or superior strength, or indirectly using various manipulative tie-ins. Generally, this happens subtly. I'll give you what you need so you will be just as dependent on me as I am on you, so you will keep giving me what I need. So our relationships have been based on dependency and the need to control the other person. Inevitably, this leads to resentment and anger, most of which we repress because it would be too dangerous to express it and risk losing the other person. The repressing of all these feelings leads to dullness and deadness. This is one reason why so many relationships start off exciting. Wow, I think I've found someone who can really fulfill my needs, and end up either filled with anger or relatively dull and boring. They aren't fulfilling my needs nearly as well as I had hoped, and I've lost my own identity in the process, but I'm afraid to let go for fear I'll die without this person. Finding the balance. In recent times, of course, the strongly separated roles of men and women have begun to shift. In the last 2 generations, increasing numbers of women are exploring and expressing their abilities to act in the world. At the same time, a growing number of men have been looking within themselves and learning to open to the feelings and intuition. I believe this is happening because we have reached a dead-end street with our old world relationships and externalized concepts of masculine and feminine. The old models and ways of doing things are too limiting for us now, and we have not yet evolved effective patterns to take the place. It's a period of chaos and confusion, pain and insecurity, but also of tremendous growth. We are making a leap into the new world. I believe that every form of relationship, from the most traditional marriage to homosexual or bisexual relationships, represents each person's attempt to find the feminine, masculine balance within. Women have traditionally been in touch with their female energy, but they haven't backed her up with their male energy. They have not acknowledged what they know inside. They have always acted as if they were powerless when they are really very powerful. They have gone after external validation, from men especially, rather than internally validating themselves for what they know and who they are. Many women, like myself, have had strongly developed male energy but have used it in the old male way. I was very intellectual, very active, and drove myself very hard to shoulder the responsibilities of the world. I also had a very strongly developed female, but I didn't put her in charge. In fact, I ignored her a lot of the time. I basically protected my sensitive, vulnerable feelings by erecting a tough outer shell. I've had to learn to take that powerful male energy and use it to listen to, trust, and support my female. This allows her the safe tie and support to emerge fully. I feel and appear softer, more receptive, and more vulnerable, but I am really much stronger than before. Women are now learning to back themselves up and validate themselves, instead of abandoning the responsibility and trying to get a man to do it for them. However, it's a deep-seated pattern that has endured for centuries, and it takes time to change it in the deepest layers. The key is to just keep listening to, trusting, and acting on our deepest feelings. The qualities that women have looked for in men, strength, power, responsibility, caring, excitement, romance, must be developed inside of ourselves. A simple formula is this: just treat yourself exactly the way you would want to be treated by a man. The interesting thing is that what we create within us is always mirrored outside of us. This is the law of the universe. When you have built an inner male who supports and loves you, there will always be a man, or even many men, in your life who will reflect this. When you truly give up trying to get something outside yourself, you end up having what you always wanted. For men, of course, the principle is exactly the same. Men are, traditionally, disconnected from their female energy, thereby disconnected from life, power, and love. They've been out there in the world secretly feeling helpless, alone, and empty, although they pretend to be in control and powerful. War is a good example of the old male energy lacking the wisdom and direction of the female. Men seek nurturing and internal connection through women, but once they have connected with their own inner female, they will receive her incredible love from within themselves. For men, all the qualities you've wanted from a woman, the nurturing, softness, warmth, strength, sexuality, and beauty, already exist in your inner female. You will feel this when you learn to listen to your inner feelings and support them. You need to totally respect and honor your inner female energy by acting on your feelings for her. Then, every woman, every person, in your life will mirror that integration. They will have the qualities you've always wanted, and they will also receive love, warmth, nurturing, and strength from you. Many men, especially in recent times, have chosen to connect deeply with their feminine energy and, in doing so, have disconnected from their male. They've rejected the old macho image and have no other concept of male energy to relate to. These men are usually so afraid of their male energy, fearing that it will burst forth with all the old mindlessness and violence they equate with maleness, that they reject the positive, assertive male qualities as well. I feel it's very important for these men to embrace the concept of the new male, one who allows his spontaneous, active, aggressive male energy to flow freely, knowing that the power of his feminine is in charge, wisely directing him. This requires a deep trust that the inner female knows what she's doing and won't allow anything destructive or harmful to happen. New ORLD relationships. A new idea of relationships is emerging that is based on each person developing wholeness within him or herself. Internally, each person is moving toward becoming a fully balanced feminine, masculine being with a wide range of expression, from softest receptivity to strongest action. Externally, most people's style of expression will certainly be determined strongly by which type of body they are in, male or female. When people hear these ideas, they sometimes express the fear that we will all become outwardly androgynous, men and women all appearing pretty much the same. The reverse is actually true. The more women develop and trust their male aspect to support them and back them up internally, the safer they feel to allow the soft, receptive, beautiful feminine aspect to open up. The women I know who are going through this process, myself included, seem to become more feminine and beautiful even while they are strengthening their masculine qualities. Men who are surrendering and opening fully to the female energy are actually reconnected with the inner feminine power, which enhances and strengthens their masculine qualities. Far from becoming effeminate, the men I know who are involved in this process become more secure in their maleness. In the new world, when a man is attracted to a woman, he recognizes her as a mirror of his feminine aspect. Through her reflection, he can learn more about his own female side and move through whatever fears and barriers he may have to come to a deeper integration within himself. When a woman falls in love with a man, she is seeing her own male reflected in him. In her interactions with him, she can learn to strengthen and trust her masculine side. If you know on a deep level that the person you're attracted to is a mirror of yourself, you cannot be overly dependent on him or her because you know that everything you see in your partner is also in you. You recognize that one of the main reasons you're in the relationship is to learn about yourself and deepen your connection with the universe. So, healthy relationships are based on the passion and excitement of sharing the journey into becoming a whole person. This might sound like we are evolving to a place where we are so whole within ourselves that we no longer need relationships at all. The paradox is this: as human beings, we are social, interdependent creatures. We do need one another. Part of experiencing wholeness is accepting the parts of us that need love, closeness, and intimacy with one another. So, creating conscious relationships involves honoring both our dependence and our interdependence. Why relationships? My own experience in relationships is heterosexual, so I can hardly consider myself much of an expert on gay relationships. However, from talking and working with quite a few gay and lesbian friends and clients, I do have a strong sense that on a spiritual level, homosexual and bisexual relationships are a powerful step that some beings take to break through old, rigid roles and stereotypes to find their own truth. For some people, being in a close, intense relationship with a person or persons of the same sex is the most powerful mirroring process they can find. Two women, for example, often seem to find a depth of connection with each other that they don't find with a man. They use this intuitive feminine connection to create a strong foundation and safe environment for each of them to practice building their internal male. They totally reflect and support each other in becoming whole and balanced. A man sometimes seems to find a matching male intensity with another man, an ability to go all out that he wouldn't find with a woman. He may also find in another man a support for moving into and exploring his feminine self without feeling he has to fulfill the old, stereotyped male role. I think many of these things are mysteries that we will understand only in retrospect. I believe that every being chooses the life path and relationships that will help him or her to grow the fastest. As we continue to evolve, I believe we will gradually stop categorizing ourselves and our relationships with any particular labels such as gay, straight, and so on. I foresee a time when each person can be a unique entity with his or her free-flowing style of express. Each relationship will be a unique connection between two beings, taking its individual form and expression. No categories are possible because each one is so different and follows its own flow of energy. Exercise. Think of some of the most important women in your life. What are the strongest or most attractive qualities? Be aware that they mirror some aspects of your own female energy, whether you are a woman or a man. Now think of some of the most important men in your life. What qualities do you most like, admire, or appreciate about them? Recognize that they reflect similar aspects of your own male energy. Why, again, this applies to you whether you're a man or a woman. If you have trouble seeing that some of the things you admire in others are in you as well, it may be because you have not yet developed those qualities in yourself as strongly as they have. In this case, try the following meditation. Meditation. Get in a comfortable position. Close your eyes, relax, take a few deep, slow breaths and move your consciousness into a deep, quiet place inside. Bring to mind one person whom you admire or are attracted to. Ask yourself what qualities you find most attractive in this person. Do you see those same qualities in yourself? If not, try imagining that you possess those same qualities. Imagine how you would look, talk, and act. Picture yourself in a variety of situations and interactions. If you feel these are qualities you want to further develop within yourself, continue to do this visualization regularly for a while. Chapter 10. East and West, a new challenge. I have a strong feeling that in my last life I was a spiritual ascetic, perhaps in India, and probably living in meditation on a moon top somewhere. That way of life has a comfortable familiarity to it, and there is a longing somewhere within me to continue to live in that blissful simplicity. However, I know that this time I have chosen to take it to the next level, to integrate the spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical aspects of my being and learn to live in balance in the world. It is interesting to look at the world from the perspective of male and female, or spirit and form. In doing so I have discovered some fascinating things. In a sense, the East can be seen to represent the feminine polarity. Many of the Eastern cultures have an ancient and powerful spiritual tradition. Until recently, the strength and development have been primarily in the intuitive and spiritual realms, at least in comparison with the Western world. They have lacked development in the physical realm and, as a result, they have experienced a great deal of poverty, chaos, and confusion. The energy in the West, Europe and the United States, is more masculine. In modern history it has focused primarily on developing the physical realm while paying little attention to spiritual development. As a result, we have made incredible technological progress, but we are experiencing a terrible poverty of spirit, a feeling of disconnection from our source. These two worlds are drawn to one another just as men and women are, with a certain amount of fear and distrust, but an overwhelming attraction nonetheless. Eastern spiritual teachings are flooding the West, and Western technology is gravitating toward the East. We are each hungry for what the other has. One of my favorite mental pictures of my travels in India is this. I was standing in a bazaar. In front of me were two booths. One booth had beautiful traditional handcrafted items for sale. A group of Europeans and Americans were crowded around it, eagerly bargaining for the lovely treasures. The other booth proudly displayed a variety of plastic items, bowls, kitchen utensils, even plastic shoes. A long line of Indians patiently waited their turn to purchase these precious things. Naturally, neither one of the groups cast even a second glance at the other booth. East and West can learn from each other, but like women and men, they must ultimately find within themselves that which they admire in each other. Hopefully, the developing third world countries will learn from our mistakes and develop a technology that is more harmoniously attuned to the spirit and the environment. And we in the West must develop a spiritual path that helps us to deal with the physical world. The Eastern spiritual traditions, and our Western spiritual traditions, as well, for that matter, are based on removing oneself as much as possible from the world in order to connect more deeply with the spirit. The world, with its temptations and distractions, is a very difficult place to maintain a focus on, and commitment to, inner truth. Thus, most serious traditional spiritual paths have involved some degree of renunciation of the world. Relationships, money, material possessions, pleasures, and luxuries have been given up. The ideal has been to withdraw to a monastery or mountaintop and pursue a life of quiet contemplation, giving up all attachment to the world. Even those who choose to remain householders with family lives and jobs have usually followed strong rules and restrictions that are designed to keep them as separate from the world as possible. This contemplative spiritual orientation has been a necessary and powerful step, but it is reflective of the split we have maintained between spirit and form, between the female and male within us. To be a spiritual seeker, we have had to leave the physical world. Enlightenment has been the reason for reclaiming spirit by denying the body, transcending form by leaving it. Thus, individual beings have become enlightened, in the sense that they have fully realized the spiritual nature, but they have not fully integrated that enlightenment into the form. When they have eventually left the bodies, the world remained largely untransformed. These masters have supported and preserved the intuitive principle in our world and have paved the way for us to take the next step, the integration of feminine and masculine, spirit and form, and the subsequent transformation of our world. Those of us who choose to be spiritual seekers and transformers must now move into the world with the same degree of commitment to our spiritual selves as we would have if we renounced the world. This path is much more difficult. We are now challenged to surrender to the universe, to follow its guidance and to do so while having deep, passionate relationships, dealing with money, business, family, creative projects, and so many other, worldly, things. Rather than avoiding our attachments to the world, the time has come to acknowledge and work with them. We must move into the challenging situation, move into, recognize, and own all the feelings and attachments, and learn to embrace the full range of our experience. Meditation. Relax, close your eyes, and take a few deep breaths. With each breath, drop more deeply into a quiet place inside yourself. From this place of calm, start to see a new image of yourself in the world. Your focus is on the universe and you follow its guidance. You trust yourself. You feel strong and courageous. You carry a sense of knowingness with you into the world. Because of this trust and focus within yourself, what you create on the outside is beautiful. Your world is nourishing to you and others. You are having deep, passionate relationships, and are dealing with people, money, your career, your body, and everything else around you. You are able to be in the world and enjoy all worldly things, yet keep your commitment to the universe within yourself. This commitment is reflected in the light and power you feel.